Hello there guys, and welcome to your Linux tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to talk about the diff command. Now, the diff command is used to see the difference between two files, and I honestly don't think you will be using this command if you are not a software developer or some other computer professional. But if you are a software developer or some other computer professional, you could use it to look at the difference of two files. Now, what two files? Well, basically any two files. They can be program source files, they can be files which are outputted by two different programs, they could be something else, but basically anywhere where you have to look at the difference between two files, you will most likely use the diff command. Okay, so let us just see what we have in this Linux folder. And again, this is a folder that I have on my computer, which I use for demonstrating purposes. And let's say that I wanted to see the difference between aba.txt and that I wanted to see the difference between, let's say, a new.txt. Okay, so basically, as you can see, aba.txt contains all of these lines, while a new.txt contains all of these lines. So these are going to be good examples for the diff command. So if I type in diff aba.txt and a new.txt, which are basically the two files I want to compare, and press enter, I get some output. Now, what does this output mean? First of all, we have this thing right here. And in all honesty, I don't think you should focus on that. I think you should focus on these and these. So basically, you should focus on the less than signs and the greater than signs. The less than signs mean that the line that follows, which is this line right here, master this how we transfer weld, is missing from the second file. Okay, so this line is missing from the second file, which makes sense because second file is this thing right here, while this greater than sign means that that line, which is capital A, is missing from the first file, and the first file is this, so it actually does make sense. Okay, so less than sign means the following line is missing from the second file, greater than sign means that, you know, this line is missing from the first file. Okay, now let us look at some other options for diff which are also useful. So let's first look at the context format option, which is abbreviated as the C option. So if I type in diff C, and I'm actually going to use this on some of my other files, and let me just see what files. I could use this on these, right? 1264 and 2345, okay? So I'm going to write diff C 1264.txt and 2345.txt. And I press enter, and basically I get some output. Now, what does this output mean? This is a different output. Well, first of all, these stars, these asterisks, denote the first file, while these dashes denote the second file. These, so this entire sequence of characters, this entire line, means lines 1 through 4 of the first file, while this means lines 1 through 4 of the second file. So basically, this is sort of like the display of the first file, and this is sort of the display of the second file. Okay. Now let's actually look at these things right here. So the minuses, the exclamation marks, and the pluses, because they are in essence telling us what do we need to, what operations do we need to apply to the first file to get the second file. Okay, so these are essentially telling us how do we need to change the file to get the other file. Okay, so what is it telling us? So a minus in front of a line means that the line appears in the first file but not in the second file. A plus, which we can see right here, means that the line appears in the second file but not in the first file, and an exclamation mark means that the line or lines changed between the first file and the second file. And basically you have this concept of a change group, but I decided to omit this because I don't think it is that fundamental for you to understand the intuition behind this. So basically when you see an exclamation mark, it means change change, for example, this 6 to a 3. And so if we actually follow these instructions, so let's say that a minus, and again, minus means that a line appears in the first file but not in the second file. But let's assume that the minus means delete the line and plus means add a line. So if we deleted this line from the first file, okay, so we delete the one from the first file, we are left with 264. We change the 6 to a 3, so now we have 234, and then we add a 5, and then we have 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we actually kind of look at these as sort of the operations we have to do to the first file to get the second file, then we actually see what are the minuses, exclamation marks, and pluses for. Okay, now we can also have the U option, and the U actually produces different output. It produces minuses, pluses as well. And basically, a minus indicates that the line was removed from the first file, and the plus indicates that the line was added to the first file. That means that if I were to remove the lines with the minuses and add the lines with the pluses, okay, we would get the contents of the second file. Okay, so I remove the 1 and the 6 and I add 3 and 5, and I would get the second file from the first file. Well, this is also telling us what to do. It's only using the exclamation marks instead of just minuses and pluses. Okay, that's how I personally view these outputs, and that's sort of the intuitive notion. Now again, there's a lot more technical details here behind the scenes, and if you really want to look into it, I suggest checking out the references in the description. But I think this is more than enough for you to sort of understand the intuition. And even if you are a software developer, honestly, I think that this is more than enough. Okay, because when you're looking at the difference between two source files, you're actually seeing, here's a minus, here's a plus, or you're seeing, these greater than signs or these less than signs. Now you know what they mean, and you're like, okay, now I understand what's actually happening behind the scenes. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Thank you for watching this tutorial. This has been a lot of information, so I hope you kind of followed along. But I think that basically you have to remember the minuses and the pluses and their meaning, and the meaning of the less than size and the greater than size, and you're all set. Okay, so thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial. Don't forget to spread the word of some awesome tutorials by a Croatian guy whose name happens to be Mislav, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Talk soon.